In the late 1950s, Chevrolet's Biscayne was the no-frills, all-bills, full-size Chevy, the cheapest big car in the showroom, stripped of fancy trim so fleets, taxi companies, and police departments could get maximum metal for minimum money. For 1959, the Biscayne moved to Chevy's wild new Batwing body with an X-frame chassis, wider track, lower roofline, and those famous horizontal tail fins, but it still sat at the bottom of the price list, making it perfect for duty as a state patrol workhorse. Under the hood, though, things could get very serious. Chevrolet's new W Series 348 Big Block, available in several high-compression, solid lifter versions rated as high as 305 horsepower, meant even the bargain basement sedan could be ordered with real muscle when the right boxes were ticked. That is exactly what happened when the Oregon State Patrol asked Chevrolet for a truly fast pursuit car. Chevrolet engineer and future Corvette legend Zora Arkus Duntov massaged a special 348 for a run of roughly 40 1959 Biscayne pursuit cars, upping compression, fitting a solid lifter camshaft of his own design, and turning the engine into a 305 horsepower highway hunter that was never listed on normal dealer order sheets. These cars were delivered new to the Oregon State Patrol, essentially as undercover hot rods, plain two-door Biscayne sedans finished in dark blue, dog dish hubcaps, rubber floor mats, basic bench seats, a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, heavy-duty suspension and brakes, and very little to tip off a speeder that the cheap Chevy in the mirror had a race-bred big block hiding under the hood. Period Motor Trend coverage of the 1959 Biscayne police pursuit package praised the brakes and high-speed stability, proving the car was not just quick in a straight line, but tough enough to survive repeated hard stops and long stretches of wide-open throttle. Exactly what a trooper needed on empty western highways, modern auction research and feature write-ups of surviving cars continue to confirm just how special this package really was. With date code correct 348 engines, police-only specifications, and factory documentation, proving these machines were never offered to the general public, only to state patrol agencies, the Biscayne pursuit cars remain some of the most serious sleeper sedans Detroit ever quietly unleashed. When people talk about early muscle cars, they usually jump straight to Pontiac GTO models and big block Chevelles. But back in 1957, the real troublemaker in a sensible suit was the Rambler Rebel, a mid-size 4-door hardtop that looked like a family car, then showed up at Daytona and embarrassed Chevy Corvettes. American Motors was known for thrifty Ramblers and economy-minded buyers, yet under George Romney, the company also wanted to prove it could play the performance game. Engineers took the compact 108-inch wheelbase Rambler 4-door hardtop shell and stuffed it with their brand-new in-house 327 cubic inch V8, originally intended for the larger Nash and Hudson models. In Rebel trim, the AMC 327 ran a hotter camshaft and higher compression, and was officially rated at 255 horsepower with a 4-barrel carburetor, a healthy number for a relatively light unibody sedan. Period tests at Daytona Speedweek recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 7.5 seconds and quarter-mile times in the high 17-second range, making it one of the quickest American sedans a buyer could actually drive home in 1957. To make sure the Rebel was not just a straight-line gimmick, AMC backed the engine with either a 3-speed manual transmission with overdrive or a 4-speed hydromatic automatic, along with heavy-duty suspension using Gabriel shocks, a front sway bar, dual exhaust, and standard power steering and brakes. Suddenly, this economy brand had a car that could hustle, stop, and corner with confidence, without shaking itself apart. The styling was pure late 1950s drama, with reverse slant C-pillars and clean slab sides, yet every Rebel came only one way, a 4-door pillarless hardtop finished in silver metallic with gold anodized side trim. Mom's sensible family car accidentally looked like it belonged on a NASCAR poster. AMC built roughly 1,500 of these limited edition sleepers, which helps explain why you almost never see one in the wild today. AMC even planned to offer Bendix Electrojector electronic fuel injection on the 327, advertised at 288 horsepower and demonstrated on early cars at Daytona. That would have made the Rebel one of the very first American production cars with a transistorized electronic fuel injection system. Unfortunately, the setup hated cold starts and proved unreliable. so only a tiny handful of pre-production cars ever received it. Every regular production Rebel left the factory with a dependable 4-barrel carburetor instead, while the fuel injection option lived on only in the owner's manual and the unfulfilled ambitions of AMC engineers. In the mid-1950s, Ford was getting tired of watching Chevrolet brag about fuel injection and Chrysler strut around with big Hemi engines. So, in 1956, the Blue Oval quietly cooked up a nuclear option for 1957 stock car racing, a McCulloch VR57 centrifugal supercharger bolted to the 312 cubic inch Y-block V8. The result was a factory-rated 300-horsepower Thunderbird Special 312 that Ford planned to sell widely in its 1957 cars and Thunderbirds, but first, they needed 100 real cars on the road to satisfy NASCAR homologation rules. Those first 100 became the legendary Phase 1 supercharged cars, including 15 two-seat Thunderbirds, 20 Fairlane 500 Sunliner convertibles, and, crucially for our story, 65 humble Ford Custom sedans, the lightest and cheapest full-size cars in the lineup, all equipped with 3-speed manual transmissions. On paper, they were low-trim, 2-door, poverty-spec sedans with minimal chrome, steel wheels, and a Spartan dashboard. But under the hood lurked that 300-horsepower supercharged 312, complete with experimental number-coded parts, special carburation, fuel pump, distributor, and other one-off hardware developed strictly for racing. Built in early 1957, just ahead of Daytona Speed Weeks, the Phase 1 Customs were essentially skunkworks NASCAR weapons disguised as taxi cars. Contemporary testing quickly proved the supercharged Fords were brutally fast enough that NASCAR banned both superchargers and fuel injection from competition that April, cutting the entire program off at the knees. Ford, eager to appear respectable in the wake of the AMA No Factory Racing Agreement, honored the ban, shelved plans for thousands more supercharged engines, and the blown 312 became a one-year wonder. Later mass production, Phase 2F code cars at least carried a proper F prefix in their vehicle identification numbers, but the Phase 1 Customs never did. They slipped out of Dearborn, wearing ordinary serial numbers and hiding extraordinary hardware, which is why today they are notoriously difficult to authenticate and fantastically rare. Modern auction research and feature stories generally agree that only 3 or 4 genuine Phase 1 Ford Customs are documented to survive. If you have ever wondered what would happen if a luxury Chrysler 300B engine woke up one morning and found itself stuffed into Dodge's plainest 2-door sedan, the answer is the 1957 Dodge Coronet D501. A brutally serious factory hot rod disguised as a cheap fleet car. In 1957, Dodge had already dipped its toe into performance with the D500 packages, but the D501 was something else entirely. A homologation special aimed straight at stock car racing, it was built on the lightest Coronet 2-door post body, with virtually no frills and all the good stuff hidden underneath. Instead of the standard Dodge 325 cubic inch Hemi, engineers raided the corporate parts bin and grabbed leftover 354 cubic inch Hemi V8 engines from the previous year's Chrysler 300B, then fitted them with camshafts derived from the 1957 392 race grind, dual Carter 4-barrel carburetors, and 10-to-1 compression for a factory rating of around 340 horsepower. Those numbers put this humble Coronet squarely in the same league as the Chrysler 300C and the DeSoto Adventurer. To keep that power from twisting the car into a pretzel, Dodge backed it with a heavy-duty 3-speed manual transmission and reinforced the chassis with 12-inch drum brakes, torsion air front suspension, strengthened rear leaf springs, and massive 15 by 8-inch wheels wrapped in 7.60 by 15 tires. The original idea was simple: build enough D501 cars to satisfy NASCAR production requirements. Then go hunting Thunderbirds and fuel-injected Chevrolets on the high banks. Dodge ordered a special run of stripped Coronets and quietly set the parts pipeline in motion. In practice, modern research based on surviving cars and factory paperwork suggests that only about 56 D501s were actually completed, including a handful of convertibles, even though period documents and later summaries often mention a 100-car program. Before Dodge could fully capitalize on its new terror, shifting NASCAR politics and evolving rulebooks, meant the D501 never turned a single official lap in Grand National competition, leaving this purpose-built stock car weapon with no NASCAR races on its resume. Instead, the cars found work elsewhere. Several went straight to the drag strip, including one campaigned when new by future legend Arnie the Farmer Beswick, while others quietly entered law enforcement service. Today, with fewer than 10 examples believed to survive, the 1957 Dodge Coronet D501 sits deep in Mopar folklore as an ultra-rare, one-year hammer. By the early 1960s, Detroit was done whispering. The era of quiet experimentation was over, and Pontiac was ready to stop pretending it built only sensible family cars. The Pontiac Catalina Super Duty looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, a full-size four-door sedan. Long body, wide doors, bench seats, and an everyday presence that blended into suburban driveways. Nothing about it warned you what was coming. Under the hood lived Pontiac's most aggressive street-legal weapon yet, the 421 cubic inch Super Duty V8, built with forged internals, special cylinder heads, and race-derived cam timing pulled straight from Pontiac's drag strip program. This was not a dressed-up street motor, it was competition hardware barely tolerated on public roads. In lightweight Super Duty trim, the Catalina became something unsettling, a family sedan that could run down early muscle cars before the term muscle car even meant anything. Pontiac went to war with the scale. Aluminum front body panels, sparse interiors, minimal sound deadening, heavy-duty suspension and brakes designed to survive wide-open throttle and brutal launches. While most sedans were engineered for quiet comfort, the Super Duty Catalina was built to endure punishment. At drag strips across America, these cars earned their reputation fast, loud, relentless, and deeply disturbing to anyone who believed performance belonged only to coupes. Then the door slammed shut. Corporate pressure, racing politics, the AMA agreement tightening its grip. Pontiac's Super Duty program was abruptly killed, freezing the Catalina in time. Today, surviving Pontiac Catalina Super Duty sedans exist as proof of a moment Detroit would never allow again. Not polished icons, just honest, terrifying machines built to win. These sedans were never supposed to be legends. They were built quietly, used hard, and almost erased by history. If stories like these still matter to you, subscribe to American Muscle Soul and keep this era alive. Now tell me this, which one of these sleepers truly scared muscle cars the most? And which one deserves more respect today?